You're listening to the Jōrni Podcast. What if there's a way to uncover and heal the root cause of your struggles? Find out more in today's episode. Hi, I'm Petra Brunbauer, and with decades of experience with sadness, pain, anxiety, and stress, I finally figured out how to leave all that behind. And this podcast shows you how to break free permanently so you can reclaim your sanity and find the self-esteem and energy to go after the life you desire. With real talk about mental health, holistic healing, and the tough journey of coming out the other end. This is the Jōrni Podcast. Welcome to today's episode. In this episode, we explore a transformative method for rewiring our subconscious and nervous system to create lasting change. Many of us face invisible barriers with old patterns and beliefs holding us back from reaching our full potential. But what if we could identify and overcome those hidden challenges, turning past struggles into opportunities for growth? Imagine the kind of confidence and success that could come from mastering your inner self. Etta Hardy is a subconscious programming expert and the founder of the Inner Self Mastery Protocol, a transformative and scientifically supported method that reprograms the subconscious and effectively rewires the nervous system within minutes. This method is a valuable asset for personal growth, particularly for entrepreneurs and business owners. The protocol helps you find and overcome hidden internal challenges. This transformation leads to increased confidence, income, and stronger expertise in your field, transforming past obstacles into valuable opportunities for growth and success. Etta's knowledge is vast, spanning across various practices like neurolinguistic programming, emotional freedom techniques, hypnotherapy, timeline therapy, kinesiology, inner child healing, and more. She excels in guiding individuals to unearth their deepest traumas, reshape their subconscious narratives, and recalibrate their nervous systems with simplicity and grace. With over a decade of experience in the nuances of the mind, Etta has invested significantly in her craft, learning from pioneers in the field and dedicating more than 180,000 pounds to hone her expertise. She has worked intimately with countless people across the globe, offering tailored support on their paths to profound change. Countless clients have shared glowing testimonials, calling the changes she has helped them achieve not just pivotal, but the best decision and most rewarding investment they've made for their personal and professional growth. Let's meet Etta Hardy. Hi, Etta. It's so great to have you on the podcast today. I've been looking forward to getting to chat with you because the Inner Self Mastery Protocol is such an interesting topic for today's conversation. And I really can't wait to actually explain a little bit more about what it is and what it does. I'm so excited to speak to you today. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Petra. It's so lovely to be here. I'm excited to be here as well. I've been waiting for this for a while. Thank you for having me.
We've been planning this for quite some time, so I'm glad it worked out. So, yeah, glad you're here. And do you want to share a little bit about yourself with our listeners so they can get to know you a little bit? Where would you say your journey started and the kind of things you experienced and came through and how that affected what you do today and maybe a little bit about what you do today?
Sure, that's such a great question. All right, so my name is Etta Hardy. I'm a subconscious programming expert. I'm also the founder of Inner Self Mastery Protocol. So how it started with me, let's go back in time for about 20 years. On the outside, I had everything I wanted at the time. A successful career as a qualified accountant, computer programmer, flying business class all over the world, staying at the finest hotels, beautiful family, living in this gorgeous house. Supposed to be happy. But inside, I was not happy. I was really struggling. So despite all this, external success, I was seriously miserable. And I didn't know why. I had no idea. And later on, I found out actually because of my unaddressed, all my fears, the traumas from my past were kind of eating away at me, causing this profound, unhappiness, the stress, the even serious illnesses. So by the time I was about 35, I wasn't just battling with depression. I was also grappling with suicidal thoughts. My mind became my worst enemy. I was a single mom with 2 young children with constant stress, and emotional and mental pressure was unbearable. I felt completely burned out, overwhelmed, and emotional drain. I didn't even realize at the time that I was in this constant fight, flight, and freeze response. And I had this calling. If people had calling, they will know what I'm talking about. We got this calling within us. And I didn't want to hear that calling. And I kept pushing down my desire to help others. I was feeling, I'm not good enough. I don't know enough, I'm just going to ignore it. I'm just going to carry on what I'm doing. Even though I'm in so much pain, I don't want to hear the calling. So even though I wasn't in a good place, I tried everything I could think of to overcome my problems. I went to so many different doctors. I went to therapists. I tried medications, read thousands, self-help books. Nothing seemed to work. All I can say is I was spiraling down with no help. I was frustrated. I was so frustrated. I was like, what's happening to me? I couldn't recognize myself. And then, came the breaking point. I was exhausted. I was bedridden. I was in this unbearable pain for over 2 weeks. I couldn't move. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't sleep. And I just didn't know what to do. So at that time, some sort of miracle happened, and I made a life-changing decision. For me, it was a matter of survival. Either, I had to do something dramatic to transform my life or face the end, end it all. It was a hard decision. And at the end, I chose me and my children. I realized they did not deserve it. Even though I was feeling like they will be better off without me, I realized that was not the case. So I promised to the universe to find a quick and lasting way to heal myself and others if I recover from this constant pain and suffering. I cried and cried and cried. I said, I promise, please heal me. Please heal me. I will do everything. I will find a solution to suffering. And I took my health into my hands. And the same day, I resigned from my stressful job where I was doing 3 people's workload. And I started searching for answers, diving into coaching, learning various healing modalities, attending so many self-development workshops, trying to find those answers. And despite all these efforts, I was struggling to find the answers. So at the age of 38, I started my own business, still looking for all these answers. Even though I learned from the best people in the industry, I wasn't showing up as I should have. So there were these invisible barriers like imposter syndrome, self-sabotage, procrastination was keep holding me back despite my best intentions. I wanted to help people. I was like, okay, I'm answering the call, but why can't I show myself? Why can't I be visible? So if anybody going through entrepreneurial journey, they will know what I'm talking about. There's always something in the way. So I work with so many mindset coaches, work with so many therapists, counselors, oh my God, you name it, to release all these invisible forces, all my past baggages, traumas. I had so many traumas in my childhood. But I realized that talking about my problem wasn't enough to solve the deep-rooted issues within my subconscious. It was nice, but it was not enough. And everything changed in my life, and I discovered the power of the subconscious mind. Once I started working with it, the transformation was instant, exactly what I was looking for. the depression, the fear, the old traumas, the procrastination all began to fade away as I started to address all these limitations at the subconscious level. And suddenly it was like, oh my God, this is where the answers are. Because if you think about mind as a powerhouse, two-part powerhouse, 95% is subconscious, 5% is conscious. So addressing the subconscious is where everything is. So finally, my past experiences started to make sense and are starting to experience this post-traumatic growth rather than being overwhelmed by stress, by anxiety. For the first time, I felt truly liberated from my limitations, my fears that held me back for about 4 decades. And what I did, I traveled the world. I attended so many workshops, trainings to understand more about the subconscious. I read thousands of books about subconscious. I invested so far about £180,000 in my personal growth and training. And of course, miracles started to come up, not only for myself, for my clients as well. It wasn't like somebody comes to me with a trauma and it wasn't, say a couple of years working on the same issue. We were just working once and it was disappeared. They were free from it. So as a result, I became a successful subconscious programming expert and founded the Inner Self Mastery Protocol. And this method has gained international recognition with my students, with my graduates, the clients from all over the globe. And through this protocol now, I teach others how to utilize my healing modality, which enables practitioners to help their clients achieve rapid transformation, and often in minutes rather than years. So no more being stuck in therapy for years for one trauma when you can, overcome it within a couple of minutes. It's possible. Because we make a decision in minutes, in a moment. Why can't we get rid of it in a moment? Why do we have to spend years in therapy? So now I teach my Inner Self Mastery Protocol. I certify people in subconscious programming, aiming to create a ripple effect, make the world a better place, one person at a time. So I'm keeping my promise and, keep going. I've seen so many miracles thanks to my Inner Self Mastery Protocol. My clients have regained confidence, tripled their income, started families, businesses, launched successful, 6-figure, 7-figure businesses. Now they're free from the fears and limitations that once held them back. And many of my clients have described our work together as life-changing and best decision and investment of their lives. So I'm so proud to say that following my colleague has allowed me to make a significant impact in the lives of many, many people.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that journey that you've been on. And of course, you and I have worked together before, and I'm really excited to say that Etta is a mentor to me. And I was a little bit skeptical about all this before, and I came to you through the EFT tapping part. And we've been working with the Inner Self Mastery Protocol since almost the beginning of this year, right? And I have to say, it has been life-changing to work with that, and especially this year where my cat passed away and I was dealing with a lot of grief and physical challenges that came after that. And it has been life-changing for me. So would you like to share with our listeners a little bit about what this protocol is that you developed? And how does it work? How can our listeners imagine if you start working with them on that? How can they imagine a session or working with you? Because it is very in-depth. It is very powerful, but it might be a little bit hard to imagine what it looks like if you're just hearing the name. So tell us a little bit about it.
Sure. My work is all about inner self-mastery. So I decided to call my protocol Inner Self-Mastery as well, because I truly believe we come here to master ourselves. So this protocol also teaches us how to master ourselves. So it's a scientifically supported protocol that reprograms the subconscious and rewires the nervous system within minutes. So it's a combination of, the best information and the healing modalities that I learned over 19 years working with the subconscious mind. So I created this comprehensive technique to drive significant transformation. And it's an 8-step framework that uses various subconscious healing modalities such as EFT, that's tapping, NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, timeline therapy, inner child healing, kinesiology, and a few other cool techniques that really get to the heart of the problem. So we don't do surface level stuff. We go so much deeper, like I mentioned, subconscious, where all the answers are, because that's the 95% of our minds. So everything is in there. So many people think they can't change their mind with a rational mind, 5% conscious mind, but that's not the case. It can only go so far, using your willpower. We're all aware of it. We make a decision, I'll be starting the diet on Monday. But, on Tuesday, we might decide to give up because we're using the willpower. So what happens is, in a self-mastery protocol is, we identify the core issues. We look at the person holistically. We understand their fears. We understand their traumas. We understand their self-perception. We understand what's holding them back. We understand their primary reversals. It means that we understand if there is a blind spot that they don't want to heal from a certain thing. So we look at everything holistically. Once we got the full view, we follow this 8-step process to help them overcome the core issue. But we make sure that we do this thoroughly. And this can include the inner child healing as well. What's inner child healing? And let's give an example of inner child healing. So if your childhood was challenging, and if you're an empath, I'm an empath. I know Pedro is an empath. Empaths are very sensitive people normally. And we might see things 1,000 times worse, or feel them 1,000 times worse. Let's say it that way. And if that's the case, we normally get stuck at a certain ages. And this inner child, younger self, sometimes trigger us. And if something is triggering you and you're not aware of it, why this is happening to you, you might want to have a look at that. It's usually the inner child that hasn't been healed, almost kind of telling us that there is something needs to be healed. And with this 8-step process, we heal the inner child. We find the core issue. That's the main thing. We find the core issue first of all. That's the biggest challenging things, but we use certain techniques to make sure that we got the core issue, and we release the trauma, whatever it is. We do inner child healing, we do quite lots of forgiveness work, we do the reframing, we do the growth, we're looking at the lessons behind the, experience and everything. So at the end, when somebody go through this 90 minutes process with us, they started seeing things from a completely different perspective. They no longer see them as the victim. They started seeing as, oh my God, this was an amazing experience. I learned so much from it. And it's amazing. It's so powerful, that so successful that I even offer a money back guarantee to my one-on-one work. Because I've been using it for years. I've got 100%, success. And now I teach others to use this amazing technique as well. So I normally do like a 12 weeks program. I don't just do one-off sessions because, like I said, it's so difficult to get, even though I address one issue in one session, it's so difficult to kind of give a holistic result. Because there's so many different things a person goes through. It's not one or two things. But if you really want to kind of see a transformation, I always recommend it 12 weeks. And during that 12 weeks, every week, during the 90 minutes, We pick up one issue, we work through that, we release it. And next week, we go to the next one. Next week, we go to the next one. And exactly what we did with your cat as well. When you lost your cat, you told me that, you were struggling. And I mentioned you work with Inner Self Mastery Protocol, and you didn't. But I got one of the students that worked with you, and the transformation was amazing, wasn't it? You managed to release all that grief you were holding on to for God knows how many months, 4 or 5 months at least.
Yeah, and it got really bad. I had such bad health challenges in the summer. And this brings me to a really important point, because I really wanted to work on that. And for some reason, I wasn't able to work on myself. And this was actually a really important realization this year, that even though I am a practitioner and, quote unquote, should be able to fix my own things, I wasn't able to in that situation. And I think for our listeners, this might be an important thing to hear as well, is that sometimes it is really nice to work with a practitioner, to work with someone who is trained in that, because even though you do a lot of the work yourself, there are some places where I think you are much better off working with someone else on those issues. As you mentioned, we have blind spots, we have our own fears to deal with. And I think this year was one of those instances where the breakthrough didn't come until I worked with someone else on that. So yeah, that was a good lesson this year. So yeah, absolutely. Now, you're the only person I think that I know that offers a guarantee on her work. So yeah, it truly does work. And like I said, for me, this has been life-changing working on that with you. So I would think that you have many stories to share of working with your clients and the things that changed for them as well, going through the protocol and doing that work. So what kind of things do you have people come to you with that they can release through this protocol? What are sort of the more common things that you work on?
Oh God, so many different things. I mean, I tend to work with entrepreneurs. Now that's my kind of area niche, because that's what I found most difficult, to stepping into my power. So I now tend to work with most of it entrepreneurs to get them to step into their powers, but they do have all sorts of different things. They might have a fear of failure. They might have a fear of success. They might have a fear of visibility. They might have procrastination, or they might not think they're good enough. All these limiting beliefs. And they might self-sabotage themselves. They might not work on themselves because of so many different various reasons. So we never know what's going to be underneath it. It can be so many different things. I mean, I'll give you one example, for instance. That's why I like to do the 12 weeks, because it could be so many different things. I'll give you an example. Again, this person wanted to step into her calling and create a business for herself. But unfortunately, when she was 16 years old, she fell off from a horse, broken her back. And even though she was able to walk and everything, she was in constant pain. She was always taking so many different medications, and she was getting constant migraines. So life was very challenging. Her relationship was struggling with her husband, with her children, and everything. So we work on various issues. The most important things, usually family members. We start from the foundation, because that's the most important things, identifying the blocks, blind spots. So we start with the foundation, because, foundation is the most important thing, because we cannot build a house on a weak foundation. So we look at that first of all. So we've done lots of work with our mom and dad and family members and everything. We uncover all the hidden fears, the stories, self-sabotaging patterns, limit her progress. Yeah. And just going to give you an example of the horse story as well. That's just the one example. Once we started working with that, it's again grief. It's quite interesting. She never worked through that. We released the grief from her, because what happened is When she fell off the horse broken her leg, they had to kill the horse. Yeah, she felt extremely guilty. She lost her best friend and grief was too much. She held on to that over 20 years. And with one session, we released that. And her back pain completely disappeared. Her migraines are completely disappeared within minutes and didn't come back. This is just the one small example. Yeah, but we had to do other stuff as well. We had to kind of looking at what else she needed. We had to kind of look at her relationship with herself. That's another thing. Get her to accept herself, love herself, and also kind of remove whatever is in the way of her building her business. And she set up her business as well after we remove everything. So we had to work on her values, her beliefs, very, very important, how she saw herself, how she saw the world. Because if somebody believes that the world is not a safe place, they're not going to put themselves out there. They're not going to become entrepreneur. They're not going to become business owners. They're going to create the relationship that they desire. Very, very important. So we had to look at all this, old habits and everything to make sure that she had the right skill sets and also the thought patterns that move her business forward. Because most people do not know how to control their thoughts. They let their thoughts control them. So that's another thing that I teach my clients, how to take control of their thoughts process as well. So because if we think about it, we have a thought and it creates the emotion in the body, isn't it? And if you want a happy life, if you want a content life, everything starts in your subconscious, in your thought process. So hopefully that answers your question. I think I waved a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. It does give us a lot of insight, I think, into how that all comes together and works in real life, because the subconscious, even though we talk about it a lot, and I think now it's more mainstream than it used to be even a few decades ago, still a lot of people aren't very familiar with it or with what you can do with it or how powerful it is. So it is a really important part to talk about when we want to talk about healing. We want to talk about change, because as you said, just sheer willpower usually will not get the job done. And you'll be wondering why things that you take on just don't stick and nothing changes. So yeah, really important piece, the subconscious mind. And I feel like when you're sharing this story and also, of course, my own experience, that this ripples, these things that happen to us, they ripple through everything. If they happen in childhood, they permeate into our adult life. They affect our relationships, our health, our mental and physical health, our emotional health, our finances. These are not just things that we can neatly package away and we'll never think of them again. They come through everything that we experience in our adult life. So how can people know if there is something, holding them back in the subconscious mind? Are there certain things that they experience or they keep running up against that give them clues that there is something happening in the subconscious mind that they need to work on?
Oh, there are so many different signs actually, but we tend to ignore them. So let me give you a couple of examples. If somebody is stuck in a certain pattern, the events keep repeating itself. So if somebody keep finding, say, always narcissistic boyfriends, it means they have a belief that they deserve that person. And where is that coming from? Probably either coming from their father, how they treated them in the first place when they were a child, or coming from their first boyfriend as well. So it's so important to address that so we can release it. Once we know when we make that decision, because we make our decisions, we create our personality and beliefs about ourselves and the world before we are 8 years old, because we don't have any filtering system. We got this clean slate. And what happens is every time something happened to us, we make a meaning out of it. Humans are like meaning-making machines. So whatever meaning they made, it comes up. But unfortunately, we also get stuck in the fight, flight, and freeze response as well. So I want people to understand if they stuck in that place, because I was, and I did not know that I was stuck. So what happens is something was constantly triggering me. Something was causing me to be unhappy and stressed and everything. I had no idea because I was stuck in this heightened state of danger, not being safe. So what happens is when you're stuck in this place, body continues to produce stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, which over time can lead to serious health issues such as autoimmune condition or chronic fatigue. I mean, speaking from my own experience, I didn't realize that. And now ended up, affecting my health as well. So how would you know if you are stuck in the, say, for instance, fight, flight, or freeze response? So I'm going to give you some signs. For instance, if somebody is stuck in the fight response, they might feel tightness in their body. They might, clench their fists, tense their muscles, so they feel quite tight in their body. So it means there is something going on, but it's not feeling safe, yeah? Or they might have increased heart rates for no reason, anxiety attacks, they might have panic attacks, or they might be very confrontational. They might feel like they need to fight, they need to ready to fight, they need to ready to argue, and they don't want to take responsibility. So again, these are signs that people need to go and do some subconscious work. So this is the fight. But sometimes if child is doesn't feel strong enough, they might be stuck in the flight. So it means that they feel the need to run away from a situation. So what happens? They might avoid things like they might not want to go to social situations. They might avoid responsibilities. They might not be able to sit still or relax because they feel like they need to run away. They might have panics. They might have a strong desire to escape or run away from the situation. So if anybody feeling like that, again, the answers are in the subconscious, not in the drugs. Freeze response. So they might have some sort of numbness or heaviness. They might feel physically stuck, unable to move. And it can show in the body as an illness as well, if that's the case. They might have a disassociation, zoning out or feeling detached from the situation. They might not be able to speak or decide, like, for instance, if you think about it, in school, especially teachers can have that kind of impact. Shouting at a little child, they feel like they cannot answer. They cannot make decision. So when they're older, when they go to work, they might have the same sort of response. They might freeze in the meetings. They might not be able to answer their managers. Again, when it comes to that kind of things, inner child healing is going to help because we need to go and address the inner child, heal that part of us. And also another one, a shutdown. They might shut down. We see that often in men, they shut down, they freeze. They might not even recognize what's happening around them. They might go into the man cave and completely ignore what's happening around them. So it is so important to work with the subconscious mind expert to reprogram these reactions, to make sure that our body also doesn't go into one of those, fight, flight, freeze responses for a long time, because it can have a negative impact on our health. So we can use, not just inner self-mastery, but we can use techniques like EFT to be able to release and break through these cycles as well. We can restore the balance and sense of safety. Safety is the most important thing for a child. And if they don't feel safe, if anybody not felt safe in their childhood, I can assure you, you got so many programs in your subconscious running at the background, just like our heart rates, our breathing and everything being controlled by subconscious, our lives being controlled by subconscious. I want everyone to know that, understand that. And if you want to change something within your life, don't look outside, look deep within your subconscious.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Great advice. And thank you for breaking that down, because I feel like most people, if not everybody I know, has a lot of stress going on nowadays, and they tend to be stuck in one or multiple of those responses without really realizing that that's going on for such a long period of time. So really important to start recognizing that and finding that way to change the programming so you can come out of those responses. Yeah. Now, you work with clients. You have this amazing guarantee. So do you want to let our listeners know a little bit about how they could work with you? What kind of programs do you offer? How does that help people? What kind of things do you work on with them? And how can they connect with you if they'd like to work with you?
Sure. If they want to connect with me, they can go to my website, masteryourfuture.co.uk. I do offer a discovery call at the moment to talk, to make sure that we can work with each other. I definitely can help them because, as you mentioned, I do offer a 100% money back guarantee. So it's important for me to exactly make sure that I can definitely help them. I have not found anything so far that I can help with. Like me, I guess. I mean, sometimes people come to me, being in a therapy like 40 years, not seeing any result, like I said, with one sessions. They're completely free from that trauma. And I do offer a deep diving transformation program. It's a 12-week program. And I custom designed the whole thing myself. I send out a questionnaire to my clients to understand exactly what their challenges are, what we need to do. And afterwards, I sit down with them. I discuss the whole thing. And every week, we address one issue, as I mentioned previously as well. We move on very, very quickly using the inner self-mastery protocol. I also regularly check how we are doing as well. I always check their personal power percentage, as you know. So I always say, from 0 to 100, 100 means full power. 0 is nothing, and we can all do that now as well if anybody interested. How do you feel? What's your energy level? What's your power? If it was your battery, how much battery you have? And let's say somebody say 50%, and every time they see me, their personal power increases because we take that power back, because most people send it to their power to either past or future worries or to certain people, and we take everything back from those people, from their traumas. And also, I look at the Wheel of Life assessment as well. So it kind of understand where they are before they come and work with me, and at the end, how it is. And usually at the end of the 12 weeks, we manage to get 10 out of 10 on each area of the Wheel of Life. And if you work with any coaches, they always mention that it's even impossible to get, 10 out of 10 in 2 areas of their lives. But we can easily do that in 8 or even 10 areas of their lives with the inner self-mastery protocol. This is how powerful it is to take our power back from all that stuff, all the old programming. So it's amazing. I love what I do. I like changing lives. I love giving people their power back. I love kind of getting people to step into their purpose and their mission. It's amazing. I think that's why we're here. And if something is within us stopping that, let's get rid of it, because it's easy. It's not painful. It's so much easier than suffering.
Yeah, absolutely. And we will, of course, be linking to all of Edda's offerings in the show notes as well. So be sure to check there for links to her website, to her programs, and how you can work with her. And if you do end up working with Edda, let us know what your experience has been like. I always love to hear when our guests connect with our listeners and the magic happens. So look us up on Instagram or hit us up on our website and let us know how your experience has been. I'd love to hear more. I love working with Edda as well, so I'm very curious what your experiences will be. And Edda, thank you so much for being here today. I have enjoyed our conversation so much, and It's a true privilege to have you here today and share your wisdom and your knowledge in this subconscious field with us. I feel like you've gone through so much and you've put this all together in helping people now. So thank you for sharing some of that with us today and talking about that.
You're welcome. It's been an honor being here. I can talk about subconscious for hours.
There might be another podcast episode in there somewhere. Yeah, so thank you for your time today and take really good care of yourself. And thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen in. If you enjoy the Jōrni Podcast, please support us by subscribing, sharing on social media, and leaving us a review. We appreciate you. And you can find more of The Jōrni on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and our website, thejōrni.com. Sending you love and courage, and see you next time.